the displacement due to environmental degradation and climate change, with 17.2 million people who are every year displaced due to those situations. There are a lot of prediction on those particularly, from 1 billion people who will be on the move due to climate change to 200 million. We believe more in 200 million for the next 20 years. But this certainly should attract our attention in terms of mitigation or provision of support to those displaced. The majority of the people on the move are of working age. We see a majority of men compared to women. That has changed for the last 10 years. This was more female migrants, but now we go back, but it's very limited difference between male and female, with 52% of male and 48% of female. In Africa particularly, since 2000 we see an increase of migration within the continent, and it has remained, it has always been. I think it's important for the migration discourse to look at that aspects. There is an increase of population in Africa, and the movement of Africans remains in majority within the same continent. The population has increased by 300 million people in Africa for the last 10 years, which is followed by a movement within the continent. In the MENA region particularly, it's a little bit different. We see an increase of 1.7% of the population, so it's now reaching 580 million people. But the projection is in the decrease. It's foreseen that by 2050 we have a 0.8% increase of population in the MENA region and 1.3 in 2030. It will equal to 724 million people in the MENA region. So we will have we will move by 2050, still an important number, from 338 million to 724 million people between 2015 and 2030. I would like to highlight the migration routes. We will look at those from the continent to the north, as well as adding those to other regions. 2019, for the Mediterranean crossing, was a year of huge decrease compared to the previous years. If we have reached a crossing of 128,536 people who reached Europe. It's 67% less than 2016. It's 3% less than 2018. So we see an increase, and thanks to also a lot of policies and coordination and cooperation between Europe and North of Africa in more measures to tackle the phenomenon of irregular migrants and the fight against smugglers. We have seen a shift of movements according also to the operations carried out by states between the western, the central, and the eastern routes. It has moved from eastern to western early 2019, while it's back now to the eastern side, with the Greece and the bordering with Turkey being one of the most important, with 71,386 crossings through either sea or by land, majority through the sea. It represents 63% of the movements from Africa to Europe, while the western route represents 25% and the central route 12%. The number of fatalities has luckily decreased as well, as far as we know, either the missing migrants or those who died during the crossing, with 1,885 people who died in 2019, compared to 2,299 in 2018 and 3,139 in 2017. It's important to also mention that there is unfortunately a quite important increase of movements from the continent and the Horn of Africa in particular through the Red Sea. It's considered today worldwide as the busiest route of migration. It's also the most youthful route, with 20% of minors, most of them unaccompanied, coming from the Horn of Africa and several countries, majority of them being Ethiopians, Somalis, who are going and moving eastward, either to integrate within Yemen, and a lot of them are not knowledgeable of the situation in the country, or using Yemen to cross the country to reach Saudi Arabia mainly, or other countries in the Gulf. So it's between January and September 2019, a total of 107,781 people entered Yemen. So if you compare to 128,000 coming from 3 routes to Europe, it's quite similar. So a very high number of people crossing to one country, which unfortunately is still in a crisis situation with very low rule of law and capacities to absorb them. They arrive in the country and suffer a lot of situations, and their vulnerability is quite high in terms of fatalities. We count an increase, and in January only we had 100 cases. The Yemeni themselves as well, due to the situation and the protracting situation in their country, are looking at migration as a solution, which is new. It's not necessarily to Africa nor Europe. There are some increase in those coming to Egypt, but they are trying to go to those countries which have been in partnership with them, such as Malaysia, India, and Saudi Arabia. We also see a difficulty within the country in detention-like situation, which has been put in place to stop those in transit, with immense consequences for their protection. Also, we notice an increase of movements from the African continent to Latin America. This is due to the restrictive measures imposed by the European Union to enter the continent, as well as the liberalization of the visa system in South America. So we see people either leaving the Horn of Africa to South Africa, where they stay and find possibilities to go by air or by land, to Latin America. The main entry points are Ecuador, Brazil, and Colombia, as well as from West Africa directly either by air or by boat to Latin America. There is an increase which we note. We are working currently on the research with our colleagues in Latin America and Central America countries to know more about the situation. We see an increase from 150 arrivals, for example, of Egyptians to Ecuador compared to in 2015, and more than 400 in 2018. Egyptians are also looking at this opportunity to move to Latin America as an option to their wish to migrate. It's not that they have the intention to stay in Latin or Central America, but most of them are trying to reach out United States. That then, as a consequence of fatalities, we see an increase of people dying in their crossing or within their attempt to reach the United States. We had counted 833 deaths in 2019 compared to 546 deaths in 2018. We are continuing assessing this with our colleagues in Latin America and Central America, and we'll provide you with more details as soon as we have these numbers. Now let me focus on Egypt. So we have mentioned like more than 5 million. We are assessing and working with the government on understanding better who is residing in the country. There are several nature. It's a mixed migration situation in the country with students, refugees, economic or labor migrants in the country, asylum seekers, or international migrants. We count currently 6.3 million international migrants in the country. As I said, we are working on the exact definition of those to understand the exact patterns. It doesn't mean to us that these, and I will come back to that later, that it's 6.3 or 5 million or 6.3 million people who are are in need of support. Some are extremely well integrated thanks to the welcoming and hospitable attitude of the Egyptian authority for decades to some nationalities. The main nationalities residing in the country is Sudanese, Syrians, and Libyans, and predominant nationalities are South Sudanese, Ethiopian, and Eritrean added to these three main groups. We count 58 different nationalities of migrants in the country. Among them, we believe that through assessment we have done with community leaders, representatives of those migrants, that close to 1 million people are in high vulnerability. Those are particularly women, single parents, female single parents in particular, the youth, children, as well as those with disabilities. These are our core people of concern as IOM, and where we are developing all programs to guarantee that they can have the appropriate protection in cooperation with the government. They reside mainly in Cairo and the north in Alexandria. We have developed a mechanism in 2019 on reaching out to the communities. We realized that we cannot, with our offices in Zamalek, respond to all the needs. It's important for us, our protection team, to move in the country and go closer by proximity to the people, to understand, one, their situation, and be able to develop programs and responses based on the needs. So we do not only limit ourselves to those coming to our office, but we have those teams moving around on a weekly basis and discuss with the migrants themselves on what we can offer to make them less vulnerable. They are focused on, so in Cairo, Great Cairo, as well as some area around Alexandria. There is also an important aspect of our work, which is the consideration we give to the Egyptian expatriates. According to CAPMAS, we have in 2019 10.24 million Egyptians abroad. Majority, 70%, are in the Middle East, 30% in Europe, North America, and Australia. It's mainly labor or economic migration. They are in different sectors according to their skills. In the highly skilled, Egyptians would be working in all domains, while the lower skilled migrants are more in the oil sector, construction, education, in the GCC countries. There are, on that dimension, we observe as well forecast of return of part of those expatriates according to the situation and particularly the legislative changes in the countries where they reside. We are observing the Jordan Compact, where there are, we expect 500,000 Egyptians to come back to Egypt due to the difficulty for them to integrate the labor market in Jordan. So that we foresee such a return. There were already 700,000 Egyptians who came back from Saudi Arabia after the change in 2017-18 in the legislative procedures to stay, reside, and work in the country. The majority of them are coming from rural areas, 85%. They come 51% from lower Egypt, 34% from upper Egypt. So the return of those migrants might create an additional difficulty for those governorates to absorb and respond to the capacity to